All right, we're back. Hi, this is Salty. Welcome to the definitive Melee DPS single button assist tier list for Midnight. If you think you knew the meta 3 weeks ago, throw that out. The sequential updates on January 22nd, February 10th, and the final tuning pass on February 17th haven't just tweaked the numbers, they have fundamentally rebuilt the landscape of automation. Blizzard has shifted massive power into passive auto attack flaws. They have pruned away the complex rotational traps that used to break SPA. The gap between manual execution and automation isn't just closing. For some specs, it is mathematically non-existent. To bring you this list, I have cross-referenced every line of those 3 patches. I have analyzed the mathematical impact of the rotational pruning, and I calculated the exact expected DPS loss versus manual play. It's crazy. I've been on this around the clock. I haven't seen my wife and child for weeks. Honestly, no idea where they are. But that's all right, because I finished the tier list and we're doing the video. So put the kids to bed, phone on silent, stretch, drink 3 coffees, wake the kids back up, let them know that the new Salty video is out now. Let's get into it. All right, we're going to kick off with Survival Hunter. So Survival has transitioned into a premier choice for automation. This is due to a foundational mechanical redesign. The February 10th update solidified kill command as the primary generator. It has no cooldown when resets trigger, creating an infinite loop that eliminates rotational lockups. The SBA no longer stutters, waiting for focus. The February 17th update applied a global 4% damage reduction. It also reduced boomstick damage by 10%. Now, while this lowers the ceiling, it does not break the mechanical flow. Best hero talent is Pack Leader. It provides a lovely set and forget profile via Howl of the Pack Leader. This triggers a stampede on kill command. Since the SBA spams kill command naturally, the burst window occurs automatically. The alternative Sentinel was nerfed in February and requires tracking that is just too complex. Expect about a 10% DPS loss over manual play. Okay, HAVOC Demon Hunter. The January 22nd update caused Demon Blades to automatically override Demon's Bite. This deletes the generator button entirely. It leaves the SBA with a simplified linear spender priority system. This is carried by a massive buff to auto attack damage from earlier patches. The February 17th tuning pass was very favorable. It applied a 5% increase to all ability damage. This helps offset previous global reductions. It props up the SBA's performance in sustained encounters. The best hero talent is FEL-SCARRED. The volatile instinct talent causes entering demonic form to immediately trigger a demon surge. Because the SBA naturally casts I-beam on cooldown, your burst is fully automated. Expect about a 15% DPS loss. Okay, onto Outlaw Rogue, which has jumped significantly in viability. Back on January 22nd, the update removed the crackshot talent. This removes the requirement to execute complex stealth windows. It leaves a flat, consistent flow that the SBA handles easily. There's a massive buff to auto attack and main gouge damage, which means nearly half of your output is now passive. Crucially, Outlaw escaped the February 17th tuning pass relatively unscathed. While Trickster saw minor nerfs to Unseen Blade, the core spec avoided the damage reductions that hit the other classes. This reinforces the spec's identity as a consistent powerhouse. The best hero talent is Fatebound, so this creates a resource loop where Dispatch spam flips coins. This prevents the SBA from stalling. Trickster is less effective as it still relies on interaction complexity that Fatebound avoids. Expect 10 to 15% DPS loss. Okay, another rogue, Assassination, and this really does favor the SBA's spam playstyle. The Supercharger talent now auto triggers via Kingsbane. This removes the need for manual shift timing. The assistant's default behavior of spamming Fan of Knives aligns with significant buffs. The February 17th tuning was excellent for the spec. It increased rupture damage by 5%, and it increased Fan of Knives damage by a massive 25%. This solidifies the AoE spam logic as a mathematically superior strategy. The best hero talent is once again Fatebound. It functions as a coin flip engine triggered by finishes requiring no targeting logic. Expect about a 15% DPS loss for Assassination Rogue. All right, let's round out the rogues actually. Let's do Subtlety. So Subtlety Rogue has shifted from a finisher spec to a builder spec. Shadow Strike damage was increased by 146% in the January updates. The SBA's tendency to prioritize builders is now a strength rather than a weakness. The removal of flagellation further simplifies the cooldown rotation. February 17th update reduced the effectiveness of the Nimble Flurry talent to 65%. However, it remains a passive damage source that requires no input. The best hero talent is Trickster. It automates AoE via Shuriken Tornado. This allows the SBA to spam one button while the game engine handles clone creation. Deathstalker is effectively unplayable for the SBA. It has a strict 5+ combo point requirement to consume marks, which doesn't sound good. The expected DPS loss versus manual play, about 15% for subtlety. Alrighty, that's enough rogue action for a while. Let's look at Arms Warrior. Exceptionally stable for the SBA as of right now. The January 22nd update reworked sweeping strikes into a charge-based system. This ensures the assistant's input delay does not waste cleave time. Additionally, Ignore Pain is now rage-free, removing the primary resource management failure point. The February 17th tuning reduced the bonus damage of overpowering finish to 15%. It also reduced cut to the bone bonus damage to 15%. However, the February 10th reduction to execute damage actually helps the SBA relative to manual players. It reduces the value of the execute phase where manual precision usually dominates. The hero talent to take is Colossus. The demolish ability makes you immune to movement forces. This is critical since the SBA cannot dodge. Slayer struggles because the SBA prioritizes Blade Storm poorly compared to manual timing. 15% loss over manual play. Okay, Fury Warrior. This guy really benefits from a high passive floor. Rampage automatically replaces Slam to prevent logic errors. The improved Whirlwind talent is now charge-based. This prevents the SBA from wasting charges during movement or lag. The February 10th update reduced auto attack damage by 48% to balance previous buffs. February 17th further reduced the trigger chance of Reap Storm to 30%. Now, despite these nerfs, the passive floor remains high enough for competitive play. The best hero talent is Slayer. The unhinged talent causes Blade Storm to autocast Bloodthirst. This bridges the gap during the spec's most complex burst window. Elden Thane is less optimal for full automation. You can expect about a 15 to 20% DPS loss versus manual play. Okay, Retribution Paladin. So Retribution Paladin presents a specific trap for SBA users. Patches grant a massive buff to auto attack damage, but explicitly exclude the Crusading Strikes talent. Since most SBA users take Crusading Strikes to save a button press, they pretty much disqualify themselves from the buff. The February 17th tuning hit Retribution Paladin pretty hard. Judgment damage was reduced by 37%, Consecration damage was reduced by 37% again, and while Divine Storm damage increased by 12%, the shift toward specific spenders hurts the SPA. It really struggles to pull Holy Power for the High Lord's Judgment burst window. Hero talent to take is Herald of the Sun. It relies on passive scaling via Dawnlight beams. Templar is pretty much a failure because the SBA struggles to use the Hammer of Light button replacement correctly. Expect about a 40% loss over manual play. Okay, now we're going to look at Feral Druid. So they've kind of been moving Feral Druid toward a passive floor strategy. Auto attack damage was increased by 158% way back January 22nd. That update also removed Swipe, replacing it with Thrash for all forms. This reduces button bloat, making the priority list cleaner for the assistant. February 17th update provided a small 3% increase to all ability and auto attack damage. However, the spec still suffers from the assistant's inability to pull energy. Best hero talent is Druid of the Claw. Limb from Limb talent makes auto attacks trigger Ravage. This automates the burst phase via button replacements. The SBA handles well. Wild Stalker is just too complex, relying on tracking vines that the SBA misses. Expect about a 20 to 25% DPS loss with this one. All right, so yeah, not amazing news for Unholy Death Knight fans, I'm afraid. It's been effectively removed from the meta. So way back January 22nd, that update removed the Apocalypse cooldown, deleting the spec's primary burst window. The February 17th tuning was pretty brutal as well. So Virulent Plague damage was reduced by 18%, Epidemic damage was reduced by 10%. These nerfs mean the spec is mathematically incompatible of performing, regardless of automation accuracy. The spec, as of right now, is fundamentally broken. Yeah, I do not recommend it. Okay, on to some better news for Death Knights. It turns out Frost Death Knight is currently the absolute best spec for SBA. So as of the February 10th update, this applied a global 19% damage reduction. However, the massive 300% increase to auto attack damage from way back in January provides a flaw that manual players cannot significantly improve improve upon. Crucially, Frost Death Knight escaped the specific February 17th PvE nerf bat that hit Unholy. Now, since the SBA naturally spams Obliterate, it consumes its procs instantly and efficiently without any logic changes. The best hero talent is Deathbringer. It pretty much turns Obliterate into a tactical nuke. It's wild. You can expect only about a 5% DPS loss with this bad boy. Okay, and it's time to look at Enhancement Shaman. So it's a really good S tier option. This is due to a shift toward passive throughput. Auto attacks and Windlash received massive 250% damage increases in January. The removal of Ice Strike and Primordial Wave has drastically shortened the priority list. This prevents logic lockups. The February 10th update made Raging Maelstrom stacks sticky, meaning they no longer reset on bad spending. This removes the penalty for the assistant's inefficient resource management. You're going to want to take Stormbringer for your hero talent. It relies on Tempest, a simple button replacement that the SBA prioritizes perfectly. Expect about a 5% DPS loss. It's pretty great. Okay, now finally the Windwalker Monk, who is looking really, really good. So the January 22nd update removes Storm, Earth and Fire. This deletes the primary SBA failure point regarding clone management. The SBA logic was specifically updated to track mastery, combo strikes perfectly. The February 17th tuning was a mixed bag that ultimately favors automation. There was a 10% reduction to all damage. The key channeled abilities were massively buffed. Fists of Fury damage was increased by 40%. Spinning Crane Kick damage was increased by 30%. This rewards the SBA's tendency to channel fully without moving. It gives it a mathematical advantage over manual players who might clip their casts. Take Conduit of the Celestials and expect a 5 to 8% DPS loss over manual play. And that is it. My throat is so dry. I have been reading for way too long. These tier lists, man, they're killing me. But that's okay because I am done. I am done talking. Maybe forever. I don't know. This could be the last video. But before I do stop talking, like this video, subscribe to this channel. It's a great channel. You're going to have a great time here. Drop in on your neighbors unexpectedly. Tell them all about the channel. Tell them how excited you were for this video. Drop a comment. Do whatever you like, really. I'm going to go and edit this, put it out on the internet via the YouTube website for you to view, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.